Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of PIWTT International, I welcome all of you to this webinar on India-Bangladesh Traders Meet. Now, looking at the participants' profile, for some time, not always, definitely, I'll speak intermittently in English and in Bengali. So, নমস্কার, শুভ দ্বীপ্রহর। PIWTT ইন্টারন্যাশনালের পক্ষ থেকে আমি আপনাদের সবাইকে এই ওয়েবিনারে স্বাগত জানাইতেছি। আমরা এই ওয়েবিনার আয়োজন করছি as part of our project which we are implementing in partnership with Oxfam Novib under its Transboundary Rivers in South Asia program. So this is part of a journey. Let me underline that. This is part of a journey, not just a one-off kind of a project or one-off kind of a study which we are doing. And that journey has started long time. Though I'm not going into the details of that history, so I strongly believe that history is a dialogue between the past and the present while addressing the future. So that's something which we need to keep in mind while while talking about issues like this. Now here we are talking about, we have an excellent set of speakers, panelists, a combination of experts, academics, and business people. And I would like them to talk about more on issues which we are working on. This is to explore cross-border trade at the very local level. Trade takes place on the ground. Trade happens on the ground, let me put it this way. Whereas trade possibilities are discussed in capitals, in various national or international capitals. While we are doing a lot of work on that, we are also working on the ground, and this is one example of that. So let me first of all thank our partner, Oxfam Novib under this TROSA program, and JUCTO, which is an organization which is headed by Dr. Sumimal Bhattacharjee, who has kindly joined us today, for their support and all types of support, not just monetary support, in executing this kind of work on the ground. So here, let me recall a study which we did recently. Recent means in a couple of years ago, where we looked at specific products, agricultural products. We looked at 4 of them: potatoes, tomato, chili, and aubergine, which are produced a plenty in northern Bangladesh, in eastern Bangladesh, Brahmanbaria, that area in particular. But they are not getting good market for their produce. As a result, farmers are almost forced to sell their produce at a much lower price, whereas the market is there across the border in Tripura. So we looked at that. And consumers in Tripura, they are paying heavy price for such products because they are being transported from mainland India, and long distance transport.
Thank you.
Cost of transportation is very high. Storage is very high. So we looked at the possibility of cross-border trade in those products, and I'm happy to say that it is happening now. So consumers in Tripura have gained. They are paying much less for those produce, whereas producers in Bangladesh, in Brahmanbaria, that area, they have gained because they got a better market. Now this work under this transboundary rivers in South Asia, we looked at the possibility of similar trade across the Meghna Basin, particularly across Meghna River and its tributaries or distributaries. And we found that if we can, not just to explore, if we can make that happen, not just to talk about possibilities, but making that happen, then there will be gains to producers of those products on both sides and to consumers of those products on both sides. Now, it used to happen, and that's why I said history. It used to happen in a seamless manner, but we do have political boundaries nowadays. Of course, we need to adhere to rules and regulations. We need to see how they can be optimally reduced, I would say, because I think there are too many rules and regulations in doing trade, cross-border trade. You have to thinning the border as against thickening it. At this point of time, the border is still very thick. Now, this is what we are doing in partnership with our local partners, including our Calcutta Center. Let me also thank them for their effort in doing this work, not just in organizing this webinar. What is also important that here we are talking about local product. We are not talking about very high technology, hi-fi kind of product. Local products, which if they can be traded across border, then all parties are going to benefit. It's going to generate new employment opportunities. Farmers and other small producers, they are going to get better market access. And of course, consumers are going to pay. Our job is to take these messages forward to various levels, in state capitals, in national capitals, at the policy making circles, and also at the political level, so that there is better balance between politics and economics. So we are trying to understand the local political economic factors and various other factors which can facilitate this trade. So we are very happy, therefore, to organize today's meeting, this traders meet, and we are very keen to hear from local traders. What do they think about the benefits which this trade can accrue, and what are the possible obstacles or constraints which are there, which should be removed, addressed and removed for more such trade to take place. And this kind of an approach is very, very much aligned with vocal for local. Let me also stress that point. And this is how we can generate new and better livelihood opportunities for our people on the ground. So let me stop here by saying that trade is not just about negotiations in places like Geneva or New York or Brussels. Trade that is about discussing trade possibilities. Whereas what we are doing on the ground under this work in particular is making trade happen. So in this work, primarily we looked at two areas. One is in Bhairab Valley in Assam, in Meghna River, and the other in Gumti River in Tripura. I mean, across Gumti River in Tripura, in Daudkandi, Sonamura, that stretch. And I'm happy to say that cross-border trade has started happening. It may be small today, but we have to also keep in mind that sum of parts can be greater than the whole. It may be small today, it should not be small tomorrow. Of course, there are issues related to infrastructure, we need to address them, and we are doing that. Our governments are doing that. We are facilitating that. But there is demand and there is supply. Trade is like water, it will flow. So with that, let me once again thank Oxfam TROSA program in particular for facilitating this work. And if Raj has joined, then I would request Raj for his opening remarks. Raj, have you joined? Not yet.
No, he hasn't.
No, okay, fine. Once he joins, then we'll hear from him. But Professor Roy has joined. So let me now request Srimal Bhattacharjee, Director Jukto, which is an organization which is doing very good work on the ground in Bhairab Valley, in all three areas, Kachar, Karimganj, and Hailakandi. So, Dr. Bhattacharjee, for your initial remarks, over to you in about 7 minutes, 5 to 7 minutes. Thank you, and over to you.
Thank you, Bipulda, and thank you to the whole team in CUTS for organizing this session today. I'm very pleased, an initiative like this has seen a lot of groundwork in the last few months of the COVID. We, of course, had to restrict a lot of the work that was happening on the ground in terms of physical presence, etc. But nevertheless, it was a great quality work in the whole ecosystem where, cuts and all other organizations, including whatever we could do, we have done. It's a great pleasure to have people from both the countries, people associated with trade and business, from Bangladesh, from Barak Valley, Karimganj, Silchar. We have people. We have from Tripura, and of course we have the added dignified presence of two gentlemen whom I adore a lot. I can see Dr. Didar Singh, former secretary in the Government of India and the Secretary General of FICCI, and who started his civil service career in Karimganj way back in '76, and someone who has always been my mentor and well-wisher, and Professor Niranjan Roy. Currently, he's the head of the economics department of Assam University, but himself has led a lot of quality research work on the ground as far as Barak Valley's economy is concerned. So with this small, welcoming to all of you, I must say that the potential of the trade has always been spoken about. The potential and of the formal trade between the two countries along the neighbors has not been realized. And so the groundwork to realize that and a very realistic groundwork, that is what I felt this project was trying to address. For example, whom did we go to? I myself had the opportunity to meet the fishermen from our side of the border as well as on the Bangladesh side in Sylhet. More or less the problems have what they have identified have been the same. More or less a solution also that will have to work out, taking the policies of the two government and how multilateral support and involvement comes in. I see that there is a lot of common ground where both sides benefit. The people-to-people connection between the two countries and along the border still remains strong. Trade infrastructure over the last few years have improved. It needs to be far much better. So I think this kind of infrastructure will definitely have to be worked out. This interaction will actually facilitate that. We also have here in this afternoon today Mr. Devarshi Bhattacharjee, who was very much involved in working on the ground at a political and bureaucratic level to see the Sutarkandi and the Karimganj initiative works. And so we are basically with Bipulda and Vinaji and Sumanto and everyone in the cut stream, as well as the wonderful team that we met in Bangladesh. We all have tried to address the issues that we feel could be a barrier to trade and how we get over them and facilitate trade and get this moving. So I think the groundwork has really been useful, and I think there is a lot of opportunity to now take inputs from all of you. Most of you are already doing trade in that sector. Most of you know the issues, and it always helps credible organization like CUTS, whose work on anything related to trade and consumers has been phenomenal for the last few decades. To take these issues and bring it to a logical conclusion, which means that actual trade happens. Personally, being from the Barak Valley, but now living in Delhi and right now sitting in Hyderabad, I must tell that it doesn't or it cannot be anything better to see something good and something qualitative happening in Barak Valley, because the potential of the region, having connectivity to Bangladesh, so proximal connectivity to Bangladesh, and of course the northeastern states. Now these opportunities can be harnessed, and that for Karimganj and some of the areas in that region could become a very good point of trade with Bangladesh. So Bipulda, this is what I would want to say. We have some very distinguished people, very experienced people here, and we'll all hear from them together and go ahead. Thank you so much for giving me the time.
Thank you, Subimal Babu. Let me propose to do it like this. Let us first hear from Professor Roy from the Department of Economics, Assam University. I mean, to give a more academic perspective to begin with, and then we'll come to the ground realities, and then wrap it up with our recommendations. So, Professor Roy, may I request for your thoughts on this subject in about 5-7 minutes?
First of all, thank you very much, Dr. Chatterjee.
I'm not a doctor, I'm a patient.
It's all right. It's all right. And Mr. Srimal Bhattacharjee, actually, who has requested me to be there in this beautiful, webinar, who are organized by PIWTT International, and I think today's participants, most of them are the ground zero level, traders, those who mean the business, and we must we must listen to them about the realities, prospects, and the challenges. Now, looking at the data of export and import share for the last 20 years between India and Bangladesh. If you look at 1990 to 2019-20 figure, India's share to Bangladesh export is around 2%, 2 to 2.8%, and the import share is around 0.2%. Now, there is a huge imbalance in respect of the export-import share between India and Bangladesh. This especially speaks about the wide opportunities between the trading relation between Bangladesh and India. And why I'm referring to this particular perspective in the context of the current geopolitical situation of the world, mainly referring to the Indo-China relation and also the China-United States relation. I think India and Bangladesh need to be more and more closer in the context of the trade relation. And if you look at the Act East policy, again, if we disaggregate the data for the last, 1990-91 to 2013-14 and 2014-15 to 2019-20, again, looking at the export-import share, considerable improvement. Of course, there is a trends of considerable improvement during the last 4 or 5 years in respect of export and import. So I think we must take the opportunity in the current geopolitics, and this opportunity will definitely help the northeastern region apart and the entire eastern region for closer tie with the Bangladesh through this transborder riverine way, because it was one of the very, very important cost effective. If we look back to the classical notion of classical trade theory, why to trade? Why there's a trade relation? The most important context is about the cost, comparative cost. And if we look at the river and road, the comparative cost will definitely reduce to a greater extent in the current situation of Indo-Bangla relation, so far as the PIWTT expansion, and which was signed, I think, in 1972, and again addendum in 2018, 2020. So I think definitely these protocols will help us in expanding our trade through the riverine way, river and road. And I think these people-to-people contact, what Subimal Bhattacharjee has rightly pointed out, I will also emphasize on confidence building measures, because without confidence building, people-to-people contact, no trade can sustain for a longer period of time. And going by the state trade statistics, again I emphasize, there is a lot of opportunities, wide opportunities waiting for us between Indo-Bangla trade relation, because we have there is a legacy of history between Indo-Bangla relation, and it is not for the sake of Bangladesh. It is for the sake of the entire eastern region of India, and most particularly the northeastern region and the the Bhairab Valley to a great extent will be more and more beneficial in the expansion of trade relation between India and Bangladesh. And we must work at a ground level for confidence building and people to people contact, and that is the need of the hour. With this, thank you very much for giving this opportunity to me, and thank you to CARTS International.
Thank you, Professor Roy, for underlining some of the very important points which we have been talking about for the last several years. I would just highlight two of them before I come to Mr. Shoaib. First is not just about trade. It is about people to people connect, confidence building measures. Secondly, it is not just about data. It is about stories behind those data. Now, talking about Northeast India, and here we are talking about Bhairab Valley and Tripura and adjoining areas in Bangladesh, in Sylhet, Brahmanbaria, that area. Talking about Northeast India, if I look at the trade between India and Bangladesh as a whole of India and whole of Bangladesh, of course there is huge imbalance that because of this difference in the size of our economies. It's almost 10:1. But if I disaggregate that and trade between Northeast India and Bangladesh, the scenario is completely changed. Northeast India imports much more than it exports to Bangladesh. And therefore, it is important to understand that consumer welfare in Northeast India is heavily dependent on its trade with Bangladesh. That used to happen in a seamless manner, as I said, as you have said. It has stopped almost, now it is reviving. And of course, we have to go a long way, and we have to revive those old connectivity links, which we are doing, and much more is going to be done in the near future. With that, let me come to Mr. Abu Tahir Muhammad Shoaib, who is the president of Sylhet Chamber of Commerce and Industry. Mr. Shoaib, as the head of Sylhet Chamber, how do you see this ground reality about not just the possibilities of doing trade, but what's happening on the ground?
Right.
শুধুমাত্র ট্রেড পসিবিলিটি যা হতে পারে তাই নয়, বাট কি হচ্ছে এখন অ্যাকচুয়ালি আমাদের ইয়েতে গ্রাউন্ডে সিলেট, আর আপনি কিভাবে দেখছেন সিলেটের সাথে ত্রিপুরা বা সিলেটের সাথে বরাক ভ্যালি ইন পার্টিকুলার আরো ট্রেড কিভাবে বাড়ানো যায়? আপনার কি সাজেশন থাকবে যেটা আমরা নয়াদিল্লিতে নিয়ে যেতে পারবো, গুয়াহাটিতে নিয়ে যেতে পারবো, এমনকি ঢাকাতেও নিয়ে যেতে পারবো? তো আপনার বক্তব্য যদি আপনি রাখেন ব্রিফলি অ্যাবাউট 8-10 মিনিটে, তাহলে আমরা খুব বাধিত থাকি।
ধন্যবাদ। আমাদের প্রেসিডেন্ট এটিএম মোহাম্মদ শোয়েব উনি একটু অসুস্থ থাকায় এখানে আমরা পার্টিসিপেট করছি। সিনিয়র ভাইস প্রেসিডেন্ট চন্দন শাহ এবং আমাদের ভাইস প্রেসিডেন্ট তামিন আহমদ। অ্যাকচুয়ালি আমি নিজে একজন ইম্পোর্টার। আমি মেঘালয় এবং করিমগঞ্জ আসাম থেকে ইম্পোর্ট করে থাকি। আমরা যে ইনপুট করতে গিয়ে যে সমস্ত সমস্যাগুলো আমরা দেখি, যেমন আমরা এগ্রিকালচার গুডসের মধ্যে পেঁয়াজ, জিঞ্জার, ওয়েনন, গার্লিক এগুলি আমরা ইম্পোর্ট করি। এখন যেগুলো ইম্পোর্ট করলে এগুলোর কিছু ভেরিয়েশন আছে, যেগুলা আমাদের বেনাপোল পোর্ট দিয়ে, যেখানে পোর্ট আছে, পোর্ট দিয়ে আমরা ইম্পোর্ট করতে পারি, কিন্তু যখন এগুলো ল্যান্ড পোর্টে চলে আসে আমাদের বাংলাদেশে, তখন বিভিন্ন পারমিশনের প্রয়োজন হয় ইন্ডিয়ান সাইড থেকে। এই জন্য কিন্তু আমরা আমাদের ব্যবসায় কিছুটা ব্যাঘাত হচ্ছে। আর মূলত আমরা কয়লা এবং পাথরের ব্যবসা করি, যেহেতু বাংলাদেশের সাথে ইন্ডিয়া 7 সিস্টার অঙ্গাঙ্গিভাবে জড়িত, এবং আমরা ইন্ডিয়ার সাথে এবং 7 সিস্টারের সাথে সবসময়, এই জন্য আমাদের কস্টিংটাকে কমানোর জন্য নদী পথে, এর আগে আমাদের আমরা করিমগঞ্জ থেকে লাইটার যুগে আমাদের মালামাল ভৈরব নিয়ে আসতে পারতাম, এবং এখান থেকে নোয়াপাড়া যেত, এবং নোয়াপাড়া থেকে মাল ও ভৈরবে এসে করিমগঞ্জে নিয়ে আসা যেত। যে এই যে আমাদের যে ওয়াটার কানেক্টিভিটিটা ছিল, সেইটা বর্তমানে নেই। এতে কিছু আমাদের প্রবলেম, যে ওয়াটার বোর্ডের পারমিশন, এই পারমিশনগুলোকে যদি সহজীকরণ করা যায়, এবং নদী যে সমস্ত জায়গায় নদীর ড্রেজিং এর প্রয়োজন, ড্রেজিং করে যদি আমরা ওই নৌ পথে আমাদের ব্যবসাগুলোকে পরিচালনা করতে পারি, আমরা ইন্ডিয়া থেকে মাল ইম্পোর্ট লাইটারের মাধ্যমে, তাইলে আমাদের কস্টিংও কম হবে, আমাদের দুই দেশের মধ্যে আমদানি রপ্তানি আরো প্রসার ঘটবে। পাশাপাশি আমরা নেক্সট ইয়ার গুয়াহাটিতে একটা বিজনেস স্টেক হোল্ডার মিটিং ছিল। ওই মিটিং এ 7 সিস্টারের মুখ্যমন্ত্রী উপস্থিত ছিলেন। ওইখানে একটা সিদ্ধান্ত হয়েছিল যে কিভাবে আমাদের ওই নৌ পথটাকে চালু করা যায়, কিভাবে নৌ পথে আমরা মাদার বেসে লাইটারের মাধ্যমে বাংলাদেশে মাল আনতে পারি, এবং বাংলাদেশ থেকে আমরা এক্সপোর্ট করতে পারি। এইগুলা কিন্তু আমাদের মিটিং এ একটা সিদ্ধান্ত হয়েছিল, কিন্তু আদৌ এটার কোনো বাস্তবায়ন আমরা দেখছি না। পাশাপাশি আমাদের ছিল যে আমরা চেয়েছিলাম গুয়াহাটি থেকে শিলচর হয়ে করিমগঞ্জ হয়ে বা সিলেটে যদি বাস লাইন করা যেত, করে আমাদের অনেক মানে টুরিস্ট তারা বাংলাদেশে আসতে পারতো, এবং বাংলাদেশ থেকে তারা আবার করিমগঞ্জে যেতে পারতো। এই ব্যাপারেও আমাদের একটা প্রস্তাব ছিল, সেই প্রস্তাবেরও আমরা কোনো বাস্তবায়ন এখনো পাই নাই। যে এইগুলি যদি আমরা এই বাস্তবায়ন করতে পারি, তাইলে আমাদের ব্যবসা বাণিজ্য আরো সদর প্রসার ঘটবে। আরেকটা কথা আমি বলবো, যে আমরা দেখেছি যে আমাদের বাংলাদেশে কোয়ারেন্টাইন অফিস আছে, কিন্তু ইন্ডিয়া থেকে যখন আমরা কোনো মাল এক্সপোর্ট করতে যাই, ওইখানে কোনো কোয়ারেন্টাইন অফিস না থাকাতে তারা ওইখানে মালের গুণগত মান যাচাই না করতে পারে, আমরা অনেক সময় অনেক কিছু আইটেম আমরা এক্সপোর্ট করতে পাই নাই। আমি অনুরোধ করব যে এই অফিসটা যেন বর্ডার কেন্দ্রিক ওপেন করা হয়, আমরা যেন দুই দেশের মধ্যে এক্সপোর্ট ইম্পোর্টটা একটু বাড়ে। আর আমাদের কানেক্টিভিটি সহজ করতে হলে আমাদের ভৈরব থেকে করিমগঞ্জ পর্যন্ত সুরমা নদী এগুলাকে আমাদের ড্রেজিং করতে হবে। আর একটা প্রবলেম যেটা আমরা ইদানিং করছি, সেটা হলো যে আমাদের ইন্ডিয়ান সাইডে অনেক জায়গায় পোর্ট আছে, বাংলাদেশে নেই। দেখা যাচ্ছে ইন্ডিয়াতে স্কেল আছে, বাংলাদেশের স্কেল নেই, বাংলাদেশের স্কেল আছে, ইন্ডিয়াতে নেই। ওই মেজারমেন্ট গুলাতে আমাদের বাংলাদেশ এবং ইন্ডিয়ার মধ্যে একটা সমস্যা হয়, যে বাংলাদেশ থেকে আমাদেরকে মেজারমেন্ট করে দিল স্কেলে, ইন্ডিয়া থেকে মেজারমেন্ট হচ্ছে নর্মাল যে ওই টেপে ফিতায় ভলিউম মেজারমেন্টে অথবা এভারেজ একটা মেজারমেন্ট করা হয় এবং ওই যে মেজারমেন্টটা হয় দেখা যায় যে দুই মানে ওয়েট ব্রিজের যে মেজারমেন্ট আর ওই এভারেজ মেজারমেন্টের মধ্যে একটা ফারাক থেকে যায় এই জন্য কিন্তু আমরা ইম্পোর্টার বাংলাদেশের ইম্পোর্টাররাও এবং ইন্ডিয়ার এক্সপোর্টাররাও ক্ষতিগ্রস্ত হচ্ছে যে আজকে আপনারা যে একটা সুন্দর ভার্চুয়াল মিটিং এর আয়োজন করেছেন এই মিটিং এ আমি আমার প্রবলেম গুলা বললাম যাতে করে আমাদের নর্থ ইস্টের সাথে ভালোভাবে ব্যবসা করতে পারি এবং যে সমস্ত আইটেম গুলা আমরা আমাদের বিভিন্ন বর্ডারে যেমন বাংলাদেশে যেগুলো পোর্ট আছে পোর্ট এরিয়াতে কিন্তু অনেক মালের ভেরিয়েশন থাকে না কিন্তু যখন পোর্ট ল্যান্ড পোর্ট থাকে তখন অনেক ভেরিয়েশন হয় যেমন আমরা এখন টমেটো এবং পান আমরা করিমগঞ্জ দিয়ে আমরা আমদানি করতে পারছি না এখানে একটা ভেরিয়েশন আছে এই ভেরিয়েশন গুলা যদি আপনারা উঠিয়ে দেন তাহলে আমাদের ব্যবসা সুন্দর হবে আর এক্সপোর্ট যেমন আমাদের এখান থেকে কিছু কিছু এক্সপোর্ট হয় যে মাছ এক্সপোর্ট হয় আমাদের সিমেন্ট যায় আমাদের আরএফএল এর বিভিন্ন আইটেমগুলি যায় এগুলিকে যে মেজারমেন্টের জন্য অনেক ইম্পোর্টাররা মানে প্রবলেমে পড়ছে এইগুলিকে আপনারা যদি একটু প্রবলেমগুলো ওভারকাম করতে পারেন তাইলে আমাদের দুই দেশের মধ্যে সম্পর্ক বৃদ্ধি হবে আমদানি রপ্তানি আরো সুন্দরভাবে চলবে আর আজকে এই যে সুন্দর একটা ভার্চুয়াল মিটিং আপনারা আয়োজন করেছেন এই জন্য সিলেট চেম্বারের পক্ষ থেকে আমরা আপনাদেরকে আন্তরিক ধন্যবাদ জানাচ্ছি এবং যদি 6 মাস পরে হোক 3 মাস পরে হোক এই ধরনের কোনো মিটিং করা যায় এখন তো আমরা করোনা পরিস্থিতির জন্য ভার্চুয়াল মিটিং করছি যদি ইন্ডিয়াতে নর্থ ইস্টে গিয়ে আমরা মিটিং করতে পারি অথবা আমরা চেম্বার থেকে ইনভাইট করে আপনাদেরকে বাংলাদেশে বলে এখানে এসে মিটিং করলে আমাদের আমদানি রপ্তানি ব্যবসা আরো প্রসারিত হবে আমি বলে আশা করি এই জন্য আপনাদের সবাইকে আজকে সিলেট চেম্বারের পক্ষ থেকে আন্তরিকভাবে ধন্যবাদ জ্ঞাপন করছি ধন্যবাদ
ধন্যবাদ শোয়েব সাহেব আপনার বক্তব্য রাখার জন্য let me transliterate it in a summarized form. I mean, primarily the traders in Sylhet, they are importing their products from Karimganj, either Karimganj or even from Meghalaya. And there are a number of products which they are importing, including coal, including other mining products, other than, of course, agricultural products. There are procedural issues on both sides. So he has talked about some of those procedural issues, including differences in weighing machines or weighing measures. So it is more about harmonization of rules and regulations. Then there are certain infrastructure issues. And of course, we have made a note of these procedural issues, which we are going to take a deep dive to understand how they can be harmonized over a period of time as soon as possible. Then there are infrastructure issues, particularly on the Indian side, in some places, in some land custom station, neither the plant quarantine facilities or animal quarantine facilities are there, which effectively means that you need to check standards, the quality of products. And therefore, you need to take samples, send them to either Guwahati or to Agartala or to Calcutta. It takes time and it increases cost. Then there are, one of our recommendations will be to establish those quarantine facilities in those land custom stations. Then there are connectivity issues. It used to be very well connected through River Bhairab in particular, but due to siltation and other factors, encroachment, I'm sure that connectivity is not that good. So we need to see how we can revive that connectivity. The potentiality is huge between that part of Bangladesh and the adjoining areas of Northeast India, not just to do trade in products or commodities, but also for tourism. So if there can be a bus service, for example, let's say between Guwahati to Silchar to Sylhet, and remember that Sylhet is one of the very prosperous areas, regions of Bangladesh, and there is a lot of tourism potentialities there in Sylhet as well as in adjoining areas of Northeast. So thank you, Shoaib Saab, once again, and we have made note of all your points, and we are going to take them forward. Now, before I come to the next speaker, I'm not going to go through this list in a sequential manner, but I understand that next I will request Mr. Hossan, Mosharaf Hossan, to, since he is from Bhairab Chamber, we already talked about, we are talking about the Bhairab River, and he is from Bhairab Chamber of Commerce. So we'll get his thoughts on this subject. But before that, I understand that Mr. Patra from TROSA program of Oxfam, he has joined. So let me request Raj for your thoughts about this program and what you think about our work. Over to you, Raj. Briefly in about 7-8 minutes.
Yeah, Bipul, thank you so much. Can you hear me?
Yes.
And is my video okay?
More or less. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
thank you so much for bearing with me. The reason I wanted you and the rest of the participants to very briefly see the video, I'm just on a boat on the Mekong. So I just wanted that, I thought this will be a good opportunity for the participants to see at least virtually. So this is the Mekong River that I think many of the participants would know. It's in the Southeast Asia, shared between 4 different countries. So this is the Mekong River, and Oxfam also works in this basin as part of the Oxfam water governance project. People, very briefly on the things, and it was good to hear to the points made by the previous speakers. And I must congratulate Kurt and all the participants, particularly the representatives from the Chambers of Commerce in Bangladesh, and also some of the private sector participants who are here today. And I think this is a very important and timely conversation we are having. And as part of our partnership with Kurtz International, we have been working on ways to further strengthen this people-to-people cooperation that was just highlighted, and also looking at ways businesses across the border could cooperate, and the opportunities in light of the recent second addendum to the protocol. So there are a lot of opportunities coming around. And with this webinar, I think we'll get some very specific inputs as to how we move forward in terms of capitalizing on some of these opportunities. Very briefly, I would like to highlight the 3 important things from the program perspective. As we are talking about these opportunities coming because of these new protocol and other things, one of the things we should always strive for and work on is how to make these protocols, the opportunities and benefits more people-centric, so that the benefits, the opportunities are shared equitably to the extent possible among various groups, particularly those who are often marginalized and could not participate in a lot of these trades and business initiatives. And when I'm talking about this people-centric approach, focusing more on indigenous communities in those river basins that we talked about, and also women-led enterprises, opening up the market and benefits for them. So that is the kind of first intervention I would like to make. Second is, I think, the role of partnership. And as people was referring to the India-Bangladesh trade through these trade routes, the new opportunities through the second addendum and things like that, these are definitely going to encourage and promote more business-to-business, people-to-people cooperation. And if we can capitalize as a group more on these opportunities and build more partnership for water-related cooperation on these river systems and basins, I think this will definitely be something that will further strengthen India-Bangladesh water cooperation. So that is a great opportunity for us, in my opinion. And the third point I would like to make is around participation. So again, building on what I shared before in terms of making it more people-centric, gender inclusive, we also need to look at ways we need to make this trade and different opportunities that we are talking about more participatory and inclusive in its design and its results, so that the group or the communities whose voices are quite not often heard in this kind of conversation, we are able to bring them in. And one of the things I would like to emphasize here is the role of the youth. Recently, we have been doing some work with youth in water cooperation. So how can we engage more young leaders, young business leaders, young business women leaders in this conversation? And they are able to further strengthen this trade-related dialogues, people-to-people cooperation, and take these things forward in a more innovative way. So those are the three things I would like to highlight, making it more people-centric, partnership, and participation. And I think I will stop here, and I would like to thank Quartz International, people, and Bina for this opportunity, and look forward to the following conversation. Thank you, people.
Thank you, Raj. And nice to see the Mekong River once again, though virtually. So you have rightly emphasized on 3 P's: people, partnership, and participation. And if we can have better balance between these 3 P's, it is going to lead us, take us to another P, which is profit. Profit is not a bad word. I mean, whenever there is business, there has to be profit. So let me now come to Mr. Mosharaf Hossain. Is he there? Mosharaf Hossain Shaheb?
উনি একটু আসছেন, জয়েন করছেন, ওনার কিছু টেকনিক্যাল প্রবলেমস হচ্ছে, তো ইউ ক্যান গো অ্যাহেড।
আচ্ছা, না ভার্চুয়াল মিটিং যখন আমরা এরকম ভাবে করছি এই করোনা উদ্ভূত পরিস্থিতিতে, তখন একটা যেমন ভালো দিক আছে, উনি এলে ওনার বক্তব্য আমরা শুনবো। আশা করবো যে উনি খুবই তাড়াতাড়ি আবার কানেক্টেড হতে পারবেন। তবে আমরা যে মিটিং করতে পারছি এটাই একটা অনেক বড় ব্যাপার। যখন আমরা ট্রাভেল করতে পারছি না, এটাকে বলে ঠেলার নাম বাবাজি। হ্যাঁ, অ্যাটলিস্ট আমরা এই ভার্চুয়ালি এদের মধ্যে মত বিনিময় করতে পারছি, মত আদান প্রদান করতে পারছি। আমি এবার আসছি সুজিত বাবুর কাছে। সুজিত বাবু, if you can tell us, I mean, recently we have seen that this in Sonamura, Daudkandi sector, that stretch of Gomti River, the trade has started. The cross-border trade has restarted, I would say. আবার শুরু হয়েছে। আমি সালাউদ্দিন সাহেবের কাছে আসবো, উনি ম্যানেজার এক্সপোর্ট প্রিমিয়ার সিমেন্ট। প্রথমে একটা সিমেন্টের কনসাইনমেন্ট এসেছে। এইভাবে আপনি যদি আমাদের বলেন যে দুটি বিষয়, এক স্থানীয় মানুষদের ভেতর এই বিষয়ে তারা কি ভাবছে, তাদের ভেতর অবশ্যই উৎসাহ উদ্দীপনা রয়েছে, কিন্তু তাদের ইনকাম জেনারেশন পয়েন্ট অফ ভিউ থেকে স্থানীয় মানুষরা কি ভাবছে, দুই স্থানীয় ব্যবসায়ীরা কি ভাবছেন, এটাকে কিভাবে আরো বাড়ানো যায়, সারা বছর করা যায়, আরো কিভাবে বাড়ানো যায়, কি ধরনের ইনফ্রাস্ট্রাকচার ডেভেলপমেন্ট দরকার, কি ধরনের শুধুমাত্র হার্ড ইনফ্রাস্ট্রাকচার নয়, তার মানে জেটি তৈরি এইসব নয়, সফট ইনফ্রাস্ট্রাকচার মানে কি ধরনের সরকারি আধিকারিকদের সেখানে পোস্টিং হওয়া উচিত। ত্রিপুরা মার্চেন্টস অ্যাসোসিয়েশন, ইন্ডিয়া বাংলাদেশ চেম্বার অফ কমার্স, ত্রিপুরা চ্যাপ্টারের পক্ষ থেকে আপনার কি বক্তব্য আছে এই বিষয়ে, আপনি যদি বলেন সংক্ষেপে 8-10 মিনিটে।
Sorry. Good afternoon, everyone. I would like to thank PIWTT International that wonderful webinar. So I will be speaking in my mother tongue. আমি প্রথমেই বিপুল বাবু আপনাকে ধন্যবাদ জানাচ্ছি যে বাংলাদেশ এবং যে একটা বিজনেস মিট করার জন্য। আপনি যেটা বলছেন যে কম উদ্দীপনা ব্যবসায়ীদের মধ্যে, হ্যাঁ ব্যবসায়ীদের মধ্যে ভালো উদ্দীপনা। আমি প্রথমেই থ্যাংক জানাচ্ছি আমার এই ওয়েবিনারে অংশগ্রহণ করেছেন ডক্টর সালাহ উদ্দিন সাহেব। উনি প্রিমিয়ার সিমেন্ট কোম্পানির এক্সপোর্ট ম্যানেজার। গত 1 মাস যাবত অক্লান্ত পরিশ্রম করেছে আমার সঙ্গে। সোনামুড়া যে দাউদকান্দি বন্দর থেকে আমরা ওখান দিয়ে আমরা সিমেন্ট আনতে পেরেছি। কারণ এর জন্য বিশেষভাবে ধন্যবাদ জানাই দুই দেশের প্রধানমন্ত্রীকে এবং আমাদের রাজ্যের জনপ্রিয় মুখ্যমন্ত্রী শ্রী বিপ্লব কুমার দেব মহাশয়কে। ওনার একান্ত আমরা এই কাজটা করতে পেরেছি। এটা ট্রায়াল রান ছিল। ব্যবসায়ীদের মধ্যে প্রচন্ড উৎসাহ দেখা দিয়েছে চালু হয়, কিন্তু দেখা গেছে কিছু কিছু সময় জল কম থাকে। জল কম থাকলে বড় যে ভেসেলগুলো এগুলি আসতে অসুবিধা হবে। তার জন্য দুই দেশের সরকারই আরো আপনার ড্রেন তারা পরিকল্পনা নিয়েছেন। আমরা আশা করি এটা শুরু হবে। তাছাড়া আমরা যেটা লক্ষ্য করেছি সবচেয়ে ঐতিহাসিক ব্যাপার, যেটা আমরা গত মাসে আমরা দেখেছি, যেটা জুলাই মাসে কলকাতায় আমাদের বড় জাহাজ মাল নিয়ে রওনা হয়েছিল, যেটা চট্টগ্রাম বন্দরে থেকে আমরা আবার বাই রোড আগরতলা দিয়ে আমরা পাঠিয়েছি এবং আমাদের আগরতলায় মাল আমরা পেয়েছি, যেটা আশা করা যায় না এই দিনে। যেটা অ্যাবাউট প্রায় 1600 কিমি, সেটা জাস্ট 450 কিমিতে চলে এসছে। এটা তো সবাই জানে যে সারা পৃথিবীতে জলপথে যদি ব্যবসা বাণিজ্য হয় সেটা অনেক খরচা কম হয়, তাহলে উপকৃত হবে ব্যবসায়ীরাও, এটাতে অনেক লাভবান হওয়ার চান্স থাকে। তাছাড়া আমরা আগরতলা এবং আখড়া রেলের যে প্রকল্প চলছে দ্রুত গতিতে হলে আরো সুবিধা হবে। তাছাড়া আমাদের আরো যে ব্যবস্থা হচ্ছে ত্রিপুরাতে স্পেশাল ইকোনমিক জোন। আপনারা সবাই জানেন যে সাউথ এশিয়ার একটা হবে আমাদের সাবরুম দিয়ে, যেটা চট্টগ্রাম বন্দর দিয়ে সোজা ভুটান, নেপাল, অন্যান্য জায়গায় মাল নিয়ে যাওয়া যাবে। আমরা ত্রিপুরা সরকার যে ব্যবস্থা করছে, স্পেশাল ইকোনমিক জোন একটা জায়গা নির্ধারণ করেছে। আমরা এই ব্যাপারে এই সামনের মাসে বাংলাদেশের অনেক শিল্পপতিদের সঙ্গে কথা হয়েছে, বিশেষ করে ইন্দো বাংলা চেম্বার্স অফ কমার্সের প্রেসিডেন্ট, যিনি বাংলাদেশের বিশিষ্ট শিল্পপতি আব্দুল মতলব সাহেব, উনি কথা বলছেন বিভিন্ন শিল্পপতিদের সঙ্গে। এখানে শিল্প স্থাপন করা হবে ইন্ডিয়া স্পেশাল ইকোনমিক জোন। এখানে খুব অনেক রকম সরকারি সুবিধা দেওয়া হবে। এগুলি আমাদের যে কার্যক্রম এগুলি তো আমাদের শুরু হয়েছে। তাছাড়া একজন আমাদের বন্ধু সিলেট চেম্বার্স অফ কমার্স ইন্ডাস্ট্রি থেকে খুব ভালো বক্তব্য রেখেছেন। কারণ কিছু কিছু রেস্ট্রিকশন যেটা দুই দেশের মধ্যেই আছে আরো সরলীকরণ করতে হবে। কারণ যেমন আমরা ভারত থেকে কিছু মাল পাঠাতে পারি না, কিছু এই বন্দরে রেস্ট্রিকশন থাকে, ওই বন্দর বেনাপোল দিয়ে যেটা পারা যায় আমি সোনামুড়া দিয়ে পারি না। যেমন সাধারণত চকলেট, চা, এগুলি বাংলাদেশ সরকারের কিছু রেস্ট্রিকশন আছে, আমরা এখান দিয়ে। আবার কিছু ভারত সরকারের প্রবলেম আছে। তাই এগুলি আমরা ব্যবসায়িকভাবে আলোচনা করে এটা নিয়ে কাজ চেম্বার্স অফ কমার্স বাংলাদেশ যে শেখ আছে প্রেসিডেন্ট বাংলাদেশ চেম্বার্স অফ কমার্সের, উনি খুব কাজ ফাহিম সাহেব, তো ওরা কাজ করছেন, ওনাদের সঙ্গে আমরাও সহযোগিতা করছি যাতে এগুলি আগামী একদম কোনো রেস্ট্রিকশন না থাকে। বিষয় যেটা হয়েছে আমাদের ফিল করি যে কোনো একটা মাল পরীক্ষা করার জন্য কলকাতা বা গুয়াহাটিতে এটা খুব অসুবিধা হয়। এর জন্য আমরাও চেষ্টা করছি যাতে এখানে টেস্টিং এর ব্যবস্থাগুলি দাবি আছে। আমি বেশি সময় নেব না, আবারও কাট যারা এই ব্যবস্থা করেছে দুই দেশের মধ্যে এই ব্যবসায়িক আলোচনা, বিশেষভাবে কাট ইন্টারন্যাশনাল যারা আধিকারিক খুব যোগাযোগ রেখেছেন, আমরা বিশেষভাবে বাংলাদেশের সঙ্গে যোগাযোগ রেখেছি, কয়েকজন অংশগ্রহণ করেছেন। আমি কাট ইন্টারন্যাশনালকে যে আধিকারিক আছেন আমাদের, ওনাকে আবারও ধন্যবাদ জানাচ্ছি বিপুল চ্যাটার্জি সাহেবকে যে আপনারা মাঝে মধ্যে এরকম আলোচনা রাখবেন। আমরা ইন্ডিয়া বাংলাদেশ চেম্বার্স অফ কমার্স ত্রিপুরা চ্যাপ্টার এবং অল ত্রিপুরা মার্চেন্ট অ্যাসোসিয়েশন আপনাদের সঙ্গে থাকবে। ধন্যবাদ।
ধন্যবাদ সুজিত বাবু। I think Sujit Babu has raised or rather raised a number of important observations. First is there is huge excitement among the traders and business people about this reopening of cross-border trading route between Tripura and Bangladesh. And now we need to see to it that this excitement is converted into realities, which effectively means more trade. And he has rightly pointed out two things particularly. One is that we have to give more emphasis on infrastructure development, particularly for facilitating navigation along these rivers for all seasons. We have to see to it that channels are there and water is there in those channels. And that also means that there is investment opportunity in developing those infrastructure. Secondly is that there are a number of, not just over waterways, number of other initiatives, other modes of transportation is happening. He pointed out the Agartala-Akhaura rail link, which can be a possible game changer because there is not much distance between Ashuganj port on river Meghna and Akhaura, which is in Tripura border. So effectively, he also talked about and highlighted the recent cargo consignment from Kolkata to Agartala via Chittagong port. So first it was coastal shipping and then roadways. So multimodal connectivity. And how it has reduced the time as well as cost of doing trade. At the same time, a number of procedural restrictions are there, and we need to not just to identify them. And this is very, very specific micro granular issues. We need to see to it that they are removed, either removed or harmonized, whatever may be the case. So that trade can, at the end of the day, the potentiality is there. And if we can address these issues, then it is definitely that trade is going to enhance. Trade is going to be enhanced between these countries. So with that, let me now come to Mr. Mosharaf Hossan, who is from Bhairab Chamber of Commerce, which is in not very far from Sylhet, of course. And they are very keen to do their trade with both Assam as well as Tripura. তো মোশাররফ সাহেব, আপনার কি বক্তব্য যে বর্তমানে কিরম পরিস্থিতি দু দেশের মধ্যে ব্যবসা বাণিজ্য করার জন্য,
শরৎ বাবু আপনি লাইনে
আর কিভাবে
লাইনে
এটাকে আরো
আপনাকে
বাড়ানো
বারবার
যায়?
ডাকছে, লাইনে যান। আচ্ছা হবে, আবার ঢুকুন, হবে কথা। বিপুল বাবু,
হুম,
হ্যালো।
হ্যাঁ বলেন। এই তো মোশাররফ সাহেব এসে গেছেন। হ্যাঁ, আপনার কি বক্তব্য এই যে এই ব্যবসা বাণিজ্য আরো কিভাবে বাড়ানো যাবে? কি কি করলে আমাদের দুই দেশের মধ্যে, বিশেষ করে উত্তর পূর্ব ভারত ও উত্তর পূর্ব বাংলাদেশ, সিলেট, ব্রাহ্মণবাড়িয়া, কসবা, ফেনী, ওই যে এলাকাগুলি আছে, এবং তার সাথে ত্রিপুরা, আসাম, বরাক ভ্যালি, উত্তর পূর্ব ভারত, এই দুটি অঞ্চলের ভেতর ব্যবসা বাণিজ্য বাড়ানোর জন্য আপনার মতে কি করা উচিত? সরকারের কি করা উচিত ও ব্যবসায়ীদের কি করা উচিত বলুন। I think he's still having some connectivity issues. I mean, he's speaking, but we are unable to hear him. So let me, in that case, I think, Sumanta, if you can look into this.
Yes, sir. I'm talking to him.
Yeah, in the meanwhile, let's request Dr. Salahuddin, who is the manager, export manager of Premier Cement. What is your experience about this pilot consignment over waterways? What needs to be done so that it doesn't remain pilot? ভবিষ্যতে কিভাবে আরো আমরা ব্যবসা বাণিজ্য বাড়াতে পারবো, তার জন্য কি কি করা উচিত? ব্যবসায়ীদের পক্ষ থেকে কি করা উচিত, সরকারের পক্ষ থেকে কি করা উচিত, কি নতুন কি ধরনের ইনফ্রাস্ট্রাকচার ডেভেলপ করা উচিত, এ বিষয়ে আপনার বক্তব্য আপনি বলুন। ডক্টর সালাউদ্দিন।
Thank you very much, Mr. PIWTT. Very good afternoon to all of you. I'm starting my speech giving Islamic greetings. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, and Hindu greetings. Namaskar. First of all, I would like to give thanks to the organizer for this webinar, especially TROSA Oxfam, Cards International, Jokto, and others for selecting this particular day, that is today, 24th September 2020, because this is the day, especially this is the World Maritime Day 2020, you know. So this evening, I came to know from the government of Bangladesh. I received an SMS from the ministry, and said this is a and this year's theme is sustainable shipping for a sustainable planet. So I think this is most relevant topics today, and I believe that cross-border trade between neighboring countries is very important for both countries' socio-economic development. This trade can also be a medium for exchanging both countries' culture. Today's topic, emerging trade opportunities through trade boundary waterways. Actually, shipping goods by river can save time and money rather than road transportation. Water transportation is very cost effective for import and export business. As a result, both countries' traders and end users will get the low cost products comparatively. It motivates to the economic development of neighboring countries like India and Bangladesh. Very recently, India-Bangladesh government jointly signed and introduced new protocol route Daukandi to Sonamura, Tripura through the river Gomoti, which is called Protocol Route 9 and 10. We, Premier Cement, feel proud to be a partner to make success the trial run from Daukandi to Sonamura waterways early of this month. We have another opportunity to utilize the extending protocol route like Ashuganj to Karimganj, Assam for cross-border trade. This is a very important route, I think so. If we utilize this route, so I think both countries, businessmen and communities will get benefit. According to Export Promotion Bureau Bangladesh data, Bangladesh exports to India total 1.25 billion up to 42.91%, which was 873.27 million in the previous fiscal year. So at present, India exporting fruits, silicon, coal, agricultural products through protocol routes. The agricultural products through road transportation way from Assam and Tripura. On the other hand, Bangladesh is exporting cement, particular items of FMCG products, construction materials, LPG, etc. to Assam and Tripura the same way. So I think India has become a billionaire dollar exports market for Bangladesh and vice versa, because Bangladesh is a big market for India also. It is a good sign which indicates that regional market is becoming more potential. If India government removes the remaining non-tariff barriers and launch joining infrastructure and develop the system, utilize the proper standard goods, I think it will be benefited for both countries' economy. Last of all, I would like to say that we both countries will brief and utilize all the trade opportunities through inland waterways if both countries' governments, public and private sectors, civil society take positive initiatives. So, thanks again, all participants of this webinar. Thank you very much, my dear Sujita, Secretary General, Indo-Bangla Chamber of Commerce, especially. Thank you very much. Thank you all.
Thank you, Dr. Salahuddin. Now, Mosharaf Saib, Sumanto.
ওনার কিছু টেকনিক্যাল he's facing some technical problems, so I don't think he will be able to join or speak.
Okay. But thank you very much. We have heard all other speakers. Sorry that Mr. Mosharaf Hossan couldn't join us in this discussion. So let us now start hearing from the participants, including their suggestions or clarifications and of course questions. So may I request Dr. Didar Singh, who is also, other than former Secretary Government of India, former Secretary General of FICCI, is also one of our mentors. And I must say that, I don't know for how many years, or for a large number of years, we have been receiving very good guidance from him on many of our areas of our work. So Dr. Singh, if we can hear your thoughts on this subject, then of course we will come to Mr. Khosla, Jitesh Khosla, who is another mentor of ours, who is former Chief Secretary of Assam, and who has been pushing connectivity initiatives in Assam in particular and Northeast in general for so many years. So Dr. Singh, are you there? I think Dr. Singh has left. So may I request Mr. Khosla for your thoughts? Sumanta, can you unmute him?
Yes, sir.
I think there's some issues. May I request Mr. Arun Roy?
Yes. Jitesh Khosla is
Yes,
here.
please. Mr. Khosla?
Good afternoon. Am I audible?
Yes, please.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chatterjee, for giving me this opportunity. This is an area which has been of interest to me for many, many years. And as a matter of fact, in Assam, we used to participate and provide our inputs for the periodic Indo-Bangla trade and transit discussions and negotiations. And I must say that those discussions and negotiations have proceeded well. Coming to this, the immediate topic, I very strongly support the development of riverine routes in particular. As a matter of fact, the Indo-Bangla trade has a huge potential. The border trade and as also, the trade in finished goods, industrial goods, all kinds of agricultural items, livestock. There are so many opportunities for interchange, exchange and trade. We are not tapping enough of them. We are not tapping them adequately. Of course, infrastructural problem is there. But development of the riverine routes is an excellent and a very cost-effective way. And I do remember during the period 2013 to 15, actually it was the support provided by the government of Bangladesh, which enabled very heavy electrical machinery, which could not be transported by road actually. Big turbines weighing up to 250 tons and things like that, big transformers. So it was through the support from the government of Bangladesh that all this equipment was brought to the Northeast and to Tripura via the riverine route. Then again, when the broad gauge link was being developed and the train communication between the Brahmaputra and Barak Valley was disrupted, it was the riverine route going via Ashuganj and Kushiara River, which provided a lot of food grains and a lot of essential commodities to states like Tripura. So therefore, now we are looking at a situation where the advantages of riverine trade are well established, but its potential is not fully yet understood. We must remember that in the past, it was the riverine and coastal trade. You see, over many, many years and centuries, the sea-going trade was one thing. It was not that voluminous or large, but it was the coastal trade which went along the coast, the eastern coast of India, centered around Kolkata and Dhaka and Chatgaon, and then extending along the coast of Burma. This was the coastal trade which enabled the exchange of a large number of commodities from the inland areas to destinations all along the coast. Now, what is the advantage of this trade? The importance of this trade is that it is not something which is manufactured for a market which is far away. For example, if you manufacture some clothes or if you manufacture some plastic items, the raw material flows in from some other place in the world. The investment is made by some other company, some located somewhere else in the world. And then once the item is manufactured, it is sold in a third place, which may again be located in yet another place in the world. All that you gain out of this is a certain amount of value addition, that's all. And if for any reason the supply chains are disrupted, as they are disrupted during the current pandemic, today the supply chains are gone. Even in developed country markets like US and Europe, the sale of commodities is at a very, very low ebb. Now, these supply chains will not function, and they will eventually throw a lot of people out of employment. Whereas the riverine-based coastal trade is intrinsic to the economy of the area. The exchange of goods and services will take place on local requirements every day. And every day, over a large area, over a large population, builds up to a huge volume. And that is what is more sustainable, and that is what is more beneficial to the local people. So therefore, I completely support the concept of building up better riverine trade, and compliments, of course, to Kutts for organizing, because this is not a subject on which many people talk, incidentally. So it's a very good thing that you have brought this thing to the forefront. And I also welcome, the comments made by many speakers. My recommendation is that if the speakers from both India and Bangladesh could be requested to send their comments and also the kind of difficulties they face, they could send them to Kutts, which could be compiled, so that in the next round of Indo-Bangla trade talks, these can be presented for discussion and resolution by both the sides. So thank you very much. I'm a keen student of this subject, and I make it a point to follow particularly the interaction and trade of Northeast with Bangladesh and Myanmar. So thanking Kutts and Mr. Chatterjee once again, my best regards to all the participants.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. I mean, it is very clear that we need to emphasize on two things. First, to identify areas where infrastructure development is needed. Infrastructure used to be there, but they got either dismantled or destroyed or whatever. Second, we need to identify products which can be traded more. And third is, of course, there are specific procedural issues that which we are identifying. And we need to see that how they can be either removed or harmonized or reduced so that we can facilitate more and more trade. So with that, let me now request Devarsi Bhattacharjee from Karimganj for your thoughts. Devarsi Bhattacharjee from Karimganj, if you can hear your thoughts on this subject.
Yeah. Please unmute your mic. Please unmute your mic.
Okay.
Yes.
Sure.
Yes.
Good evening, all the participants. Sir, I would like to exchange my views regarding the upgradation of the international trade between India and Bangladesh. I am the president of Assam Exporters and Importers Association, Sutarkandi border. I would like to draw some points which is very much important to accelerate the. Sir, we know in last financial year 1920, there was a huge import from Indian side. Earlier, we exported more to Bangladesh, and last financial year, we imported more items from the Bangladesh. So actually, there is required balanced trade, both export and import, which is very much required to accelerate the export and import business. There is some problem both the side, not only in our side only, even in Bangladesh side. Some restriction is imposed in our side also, as well as in Bangladesh side also. I would like to point it out. There is a 3 points which is very much required, and it is highly potential to accelerate the export and import business between India and Bangladesh through, particularly I am explaining about the Sutarkandi border. My earlier colleagues already been pointed out two to three important points regarding the marine. There is a Kushiara river which is connected directly to Niranjan port, and we had exported more vessel from Karimganj to Narayanganj in the year 97, 98, 2000 to 2010. But as of now, there is some problems. I had already been pointed out in different platforms. I had a meeting with Northeast MP Forum also. I had pointed out in Northeast MP Forum meeting also, there is some navigation is required, dredging is required, and I have pointed out all the points from Asuganj to Karimganj Kushiara Ghat. There is some points which is urgently required to dredging is required, and I have presented before the Northeast MP Forum. There was a 14 numbers of MPs belongs to Assam, and all other MPs belongs to Northeastern region was there at that meeting. I had pointed out, and it is urgently required from Ashuganj to Karimganj port. Some point is there because particularly from December to from November and to March, we cannot float about vessel about this route particularly. From Narayanganj to Karimganj steamer ghat, there is a 8 points I had been identified. I have connected from Bangladesh Shipping Corporation the routes which is required for navigation. Sir, I would like to draw your kind attention. We know the transportation is the main barrier to accelerate the export and import business. Road transportation, it is more higher cost. We have to pay much transportation freight for road transportation. We have required the river road connectivity. If we upgrade the river road connectivity, then we will able to export more items from Assam's southern part of Assam to Bangladesh. Sir, you know, earlier there was a problem because of gauge connectivity. From Guwahati to southern part of Assam, Borakbeli, there is a barrier of meter gauge. Nowadays, this problem is all over. Now, we are connected the rest of the country. In India, different part of the country, and we can able to purchase the materials from the source side because there is a connectivity of broad gauge and our freight costing is very less and we are able to export to Bangladesh. So there is another opportunity in particularly in our place from Karimganj to Narayanganj, from Karimganj to Ashuganj, we can able to supply the materials through river route if the river route is going to be developed. And it is nothing more for both the government. Only sir, we are grateful to PIWTT International. They are organizing such a meeting and we are able to highlight both the government through this forum. That route is very much important to dredging that particular areas. Then we are able to export throughout the year through the vessel. And that is more important to accelerate the export and import business. From Bangladesh, they can export rest of the, not only in Assam, we are very much nearby. We are able to connect Tripura also from southern part of Assam, from Karimganj to Tripura, there is only 250 kilometers. From Karimganj to Manipur, we can able to supply the materials. From Karimganj to Meghalaya, it is almost 200 kilometers. Sir, it is very much required to accelerate the export and import business. We should require immediate dredging. Dredging is required, that particular route where we are able to fly the vessels. Third one is, sir, we have required some upgradation, both Sutarkandi port as well as in Bangladesh side, there is a Shalah port. Already my earlier friends already been pointed out, plant quarantine and animal quarantine inspection facility is to be provided. That is very important in Sutarkandi for import of agriculture product and fresh fish, dry fish. We can import the Irish fish from Chittagong port to here. We can export dry fish to Bangladesh. Second point is very important for convenience of import of major product, packaged food product. A testing laboratory is very much important. We are importing the packaged food from the Bangladesh. We have to testing it to Guwahati. Sir, you know, from Borakbeli to Guwahati, it will take time, minimum 2 days. That has to be reached in Guwahati laboratory. But if it is, we can set up a laboratory in Sutarkandi side for testing laboratory, then we can able to supply more item throughout the Northeast. Third point is our Indian side port is to be notified for import of agricultural product and fresh fish, dry fish, as well as Bangladesh side port also must be notified, allowing import and export of all items. Presently, a few limited items we can export to Bangladesh through Sutarkandi LCS due to confined rules of import policy of Bangladesh for Sutarkandi. So it is to be, I would like to draw your kind attention that that should be required from Bangladesh government should allow that items through Sutarkandi. Because we are able to supply, now we are connected throughout India through broad gauge, then our transportation cost is now very less. So this is the most important point. Some items already been restricted by the some items by the Bangladesh government, and some items also we cannot import through Sutarkandi, restriction imposed by the government of India. So that is very much required from your organization. If it is highlighted to the both the governments, that should be allowed for both from Sutarkandi and as well as from Bangladesh side. That is most important to accelerate the export and import business. You know, sir, there is a huge potentiality, particularly in Karimganj Sutarkandi station. There is a huge infrastructure now. There is a huge infrastructure. And you know, there is a rail connectivity, already existing connectivity is there. Only some part of the railway track is just yet to be expedited. I would like to draw your kind attention. Already I have pointed out this point to the then Commerce Director, Mrs. Nutongo Bishas. I invited her in the year 2009, and she came and she visited that particular point. There is an existing custom station is there. There is an existing PCB is there. Only railway connectivity is required. Madam assured me she is looking after this point very sincerely. I would like to draw your kind attention. Please, you highlight this point, both the government, and expedite the railway connectivity also. It is a very small track is required to expedite.
Thank you.
Sir, I would like to, I am once again, my gratitude also, it is through your organization, you are interacting a huge, you are giving a huge opportunity to highlight our points, which is very much required. Thank you very much. Thank you once again.
Thank you, Mr. Bhattacharjee. I mean, we have made a note of all your suggestions and we are going to take them forward at various levels, so particularly in New Delhi and of course in Dhaka and other places.
Thank you.
Now, I would like to respond to one of your points because that is very, very important. Not just in Sutarkandi, I think in almost in all land custom stations along the northeast with Bangladesh. What we have in place is a positive list approach, which means that the government has notified and listed down these are the products which can be exported or imported. Now there is also difference in there. I mean, there may be 50 products which you can export to Bangladesh, maybe 25 products which you can import from Bangladesh. What we need to make an argument for, and that is what I would propose my team to do by preparing a specific note on this, is to change this approach from positive list to negative list.
Exactly.
Which effectively means that you can export and import any product if there is a market for that, except those which are going to be listed by the government or notified by the government. Primarily they are tobacco products or liquor products, things like that. So that should be the approach that we should take. Secondly, I mean, all of you are again and again underlining this point about infrastructure development, whether it is dredging, whether it is quarantine facilities, whether it is jetties, whatever. I'm talking about waterways just for the sake of it. So that is something. It's not just the infrastructure development for today's trade. We have to also think about future trade. And that is where I think we need to think about how we can leapfrog from the current state of infrastructure to a future state which is not just improved, but much more digitally enabled. And there I think there's huge scope for investment for various companies, both from public sector as well as from private sector. So with that, let me now request Mr. Santosh Jain from Karimganj. I mean, he is another very keen participant and keen stakeholder, I would say, on this subject. So Mr. Jain, if we can hear your views on this subject, other than, of course, what has already been spoken about. So over to you, Mr. Jain.
Good afternoon. Am I audible?
Yes.
Actually, I am not presently engaged in export-import business with Bangladesh. In year 1999 and 2000, we exported rice from here. And what up till now he said has covered all the points. Particularly, Devarshi Bhattacharya has told everything regarding our local problem of Sutarkandi and this Karimganj Valley. I have nothing new to add. I thank all of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jain. I'm sure that we can always draw from your experience and wisdom in taking forward this initiative.
Yes,
I'm very
sure.
pleased to see the presence of Mr. Emil Devnath from Tripura. I think from Tripura Chamber. He's the president of Tripura Chamber. So we will be very grateful to hear your thoughts on this subject, that how can we have more trade happening between Tripura and Bangladesh. Briefly,
I must give thanks to the CARS for organizing this webinar meets. And in the past several times we had a meeting with the CARS International too. We are thankful to CARS for arranging this meet. So in respect of this new era river port from Sonamura to Daudkandi, the practical point is this, that water level have to be increased in this river. So both the governments should take their sincere initiative for this purpose. Only then trade volume can go up. Then another point, you know that there is a product restrictions border-wise. So this is another problem for us, that whatever products we desire, we cannot export to Bangladesh because of this restriction. In the past, we sent a list consulting with the state government. We produced a list, the government produced a list, and it was sent to Bangladesh for approval. Particularly, Tripura-made products should get the preference, such as we have the tea gardens, we produce rubbers, bamboo products, and Arjun flowers. These are purely made of Tripura. We requested the government of Bangladesh to allow us. They allowed this Arjun flower, but unfortunately, we could send a single consignment. Next, we could not send because of the tariff structure. Custom duty of Bangladesh is in very high side. So, in comparison, you'll see now there is a trade imbalance, great imbalance between Tripura and Bangladesh. Say, when they calculating the last year, more than 550 crores of products we have imported from Bangladesh. But on the contrary, export from our side is below 1 crore. The reasons, the product restrictions, custom duties increase. So you know that Bangladesh is enjoying the OZL facilities. Government of India have allowed them OZL facilities for the 3 products like Ilcha fish, then dry fish and Jamdani shells. But unfortunately, Bangladesh do not allow this Ilcha fish to enter in the Tripura border. So this is very painful. At the same time, we will request the Bangladesh government and to the Kutch leaders to take up with this government of Bangladesh that since they are enjoying the OZL, we should also, the for Tripura made products, they should give also OZL facilities for us, which will improve the trade, undoubtedly. There are immense scope to improve the trade between the northeastern regions and Bangladesh. But in many checkposts already, my earlier speakers have spoken it, that lack of infrastructure and deficiencies, what are the deficiencies are there. I have seen that here the president of Bhairab Chamber of Commerce, and you know the magna behavior. One side of the bank is Ashugan's, another side is the Bhairab. So we know Bhairab and Ashugan's very well. Ashugan's distance from Agartala is below 50 kilometers only. There is also even scope to develop the trade to rivers and utilizing that land route. So I won't take much of time, but I think this OZL facility should be taken. About this border trade, because you know better than me that CARS has taken the initiative to develop the border trade, and it has improved also. But unfortunately, border trade at present border trades are not moving, not functioning at all. So totally for improvement of this trade, the government of Bangladesh, government of India should cordially and sincerely discuss the whole problems and sort it out. So that, you see, the Bangladesh export in the northeastern region also is in higher side. There is no other checkpost of India where they are exporting any products to the northeastern regions. But for northeastern regions products, they are not giving the benefit to us. So in short, I'm concluding here. Once again, I'm giving my courteous thanks to all of you for organizing this meeting. Thanks once again.
Thank you, Mr. Devnath. Once again, underlining, reiterating this very important point. Why should there be restrictions on cross-border trade, particularly in northeast part of India-Bangladesh border? So what we are going to do is to prepare a memorandum articulating the reasons that why should this restriction be removed, and then first get it endorsed by various local chambers in Northeast India and also in Bangladesh, for example, Sylhet Chamber, Bhairab Chamber, Tripura Chamber, India-Bangladesh Chamber, Merchant Association, Karimganj Exporter-Importer Association, and submit that memorandum to, with solid reasoning, of course, not speaking over a blue sky, to our foreign ministry, to our commerce ministry, to our customs, including telling them that, look, these are the new infrastructure development requirements for such trade to happen. So we'll definitely do it, sir, because it's not just our job, it is our passion. What I mean is not just 9 to 5 or 10 to 6 job, but it's our passion to see to it that people on the ground benefit from trade, from economic activities. Now let me come to Mr. Arun Roy now. I mean, we have been hearing this point again and again, this navigability, including Mr. Devnath has just pointed out that unless there is enough water throughout the year, it will be difficult to enhance this trade between Sonamura and Dautgandhi. So Arunda, over to you. What is your thoughts in a very non-technical manner? That how, I mean, I don't know how we can have water in this river stretch all over the year. What kind of dredging requirements is needed? What kind of vessels that we can buy? So we'll be very, I mean, Mr. Arun Roy is an expert, he's a river engineer, and he has been associated with our activities for, I don't know how many number of years. And we always learn from him. And he is very good in explaining very technical issues in very simple language. So what do you, Arunda?
Thank you, Vipulda, for giving me a chance to speak today. I was just listening to everyone, and it was so nice to hear from all of them that they're so excited about movement of the recent movement that took place in Sonamura. See, if we look at the customs manifestation and the customs declaration, Sonamura is a river customs station. So is our Dhubri and Chilmari. They are all river customs stations. And unfortunately, since our independence, we had been thinking about IWT movement only in the form of big ships, big steamers. We could not think other way. And when I was working with IWA, I worked in IWA till 2014 and was posted in Pandu from 2000 onwards. So these 14 years, I used to go in the morning, come back in the evening. In the whole year, maximum 2 to 3 vessels used to report to Pandu. Nothing more than that. They used to come only when there was it was monsoon. But whenever I traveled to Dhubri, I used to find 1,000 boats operating across the river. They never required any dredge channel. They never required any channel marking. They never required any terminal. They used to just carry cargo from the islands, from the other bank to Dhubri and vice versa. So I had a wild thought in my mind that in case we allow the smaller boats to operate, possibly they can become a very good mode of transport between India and Bangladesh. Why think always about big vessels? Rajdhani did not run in the very first day. It started with smaller passenger trains and all, then to local, then to so-called Tufan Express, which today is a nightmare possibly. Today we have Rajdhani or other superfast trains. So fortunately, with the help of cuts, we could put this different way of thinking to both the governments, and they took it positively. They allowed in the recent protocol in 2019, it was declared that smaller vessels will be allowed to move between Dhubri, Chilmari, Sonamura, Daudkarni. And you see what has happened. Today morning when I inquired, I find that every month at least 6-7 boatload of stone chips is going to Bangladesh. It is a non-stop movement since the declaration of this amendment to the protocol where smaller boats has been allowed to operate. Yes, we all know that the river is not deep enough. It is difficult for big vessels to operate deep. But, government is always very comfortable, without changing its position. So they feel that they have done enough for the river, which frankly speaking, we are yet to do enough. The word enough is, it is in a very comparative term. So we have to do a lot because we are the persons who are responsible for deteriorating the river condition. We did not take care of the river. For example, Sonamura, the Gomoti River. We have made a barrage and we have blocked the flow during the lean season. In downstream, we have made a lot of bridges which are having very low vertical clearance and boats cannot move below them. So coupled with this low bridges and the barrage, movement has almost come to a standstill. And you'll be surprised to know that in 2005, when RITES conducted the first study on Gomoti River, they said we did not see a single boat in India in the Gomoti side, not a single boat. Possibly they measured everything with the bamboo people walking through the river. And today, very successfully, one boatload of cement has come to Sonamura. What we need to do is we need to allow the smaller boats to move, to allow more people to participate and to put pressure on the government. Then only the pressure on the government will come. The politicians will shout, common people will shout, government will then get agitated. They'll have to do something because they realize, yes, I need to save my vote bank. I have to do something. So possibly we have now seen those days coming in. And very fortunately, I think with the help of cuts and all, whatever ball we have started rolling, that will ensure that the rivers will be taken care in the future days. Thank you, Vipulda. I think I have said what I wanted to say in a non-technical way.
I think you have made a very important point about smaller boats. It's not that we should do trade just over large vessels. It used to happen through smaller boats in the past. The one problem which all of us have, we tend to forget our history. And as I said in the beginning, history is a dialogue between the past and the present while addressing the future. This is the simplest definition of history which I have come across. And we have to keep reminding our politicians, our government officials, our business people that you can do a lot of things through such thinking. Of course, we need to take care of various other factors, safety, security. Those are important, but they can be taken into account, definitely. And as you said, since we have allowed the flying of smaller boats, now the trade is happening and trade is increasing. Who are benefiting? People are benefiting. So with that, we have almost come to an end of today's session. We just have about 10 minutes to go. Now I will request my colleague, senior colleague Veena Vidyadharan, for her remarks on this subject and how under TROSA program we are about to start our the activities for the next year. What are the possible activities that we have already thought about and we're going to implement to take forward this agenda? The beauty is that we are already making incremental progress and there is success. And we are advocating with those success stories, including the recently published compendium on South-South cooperation by the United Nations Office of the South-South Cooperation. They have included the Sonamura Daudkandi success story as a case study. So from Sonamura, Daudkandi, that area of Tripura and Bangladesh, your story has reached all over the world in 6 different languages. So what do you, Veena?
Thanks, thank you people for giving me this opportunity. It was really nice to hear the excitement from the representatives of different chambers of commerce in India and Bangladesh. As rightly pointed out by many of them, I've been hearing this frequently from most of the traders regarding the navigational challenges, which Arunda has also mentioned. What I understand is that there is a joint dredging program which is undertaken by the Indian government and Bangladesh government, particularly in the stretch Ashuganj, Zakiganj, Ashuganj, that area. But as I hear from Mr. Bhattacharjee, maybe it's still not, the depth is still not enough for vessels to move, or maybe he's referring to the bigger vessels, as Arunda said. But this is a constant, thing which we need to address even in Sonamura Daudkandi stretch, where we would like to actually hear from Dr. Shalaluddin on this respect, that did his consignment face any challenge while coming to Sonamura from Daudkandi? Because while we visited field, we could see certain low-lying bridges, in the Gomti River that often kind of constrain the movement of bigger vessels. So this is something which is quite challenging in Sonamura Daudkandi stretch. Yeah, so those things are to be addressed if we are looking at larger trade opportunities, and also a transshipment facility maybe in Daudkandi, because if it is there, then goods coming from Kolkata side or even from other parts of Bangladesh can be transferred to smaller vessels and then taken to Sonamura side. So these are some recommendations which we have highlighted in our report. In the coming year also, we will be undertaking a further field visit, particularly even in other rivers of Tripura, minor rivers of Tripura, because often we find that only bigger rivers are part of discussion, transboundary discussion, whenever it comes to cooperation, whether it is water sharing, whether it is navigation, but the tributaries are also very important. Like say Gomti is a small river, but now we have seen an opportunity in the Gomti River coming up. So likewise, we have identified 2 more rivers in the Meghna Basin, like the Karnapuli River and maybe the Ichamadi River in the Brahmaputra side. So we will be looking for further opportunities in these rivers in our coming work. And yeah, going forward, as mentioned by Vipul, we'll be preparing a memorandum highlighting all the issues which we have discussed today, particularly those related to port restrictions, which we have been hearing this from, I don't know, for so many years. Last year only, we visited the Tripura side, and Mr. M.L. Devnath, he in fact accompanied us to the Sutar, not Sutarkandi, I forgot the name, the station.
Mantapur.
Yeah, Srimantapur. It's notified as a land port, but still, I mean, all the infrastructure facilities are there. And the terminal is set up just by the land custom station only, Srimantapur River station. So we have actually seen the opportunity of cement and coal at that time. And our preference, especially from the TROSA perspective, would be the benefit of local communities or the commodities produced locally. So as Devnath highlighted, Tripura produces rubber, pineapples, and other products. If we can, find a way for this to be traded with, because unlike other borders in Tripura, India is a major importer, and that's the gain for Bangladesh. So the consignment which came to Sonamura was the first ever export from Bangladesh side through riverine route. So this is an opportunity for Bangladesh, and definitely the communities, producer communities and consumers on both sides are going to benefit from this. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Vinap. Let me also take this opportunity to thank our long-term partner in Bangladesh, Hunan Shaman, with whom we have been working for the last 25 odd years for various facilitation, not just the research work or advocacy work, but various facilitation work which they do in partnership with us. And it's a long-term strategic partnership which we have developed over time. They have also been participating in this. So let me now come to Suvimal for his concluding remarks. But before that, I would like to just point out one thing, and this is the beauty of this work, the kind of incremental progress that we are making. And I'm sure that going forward under the leadership of Bhairab, under this work, we will continue to make not just incremental progress, but in an accelerated manner, with much more momentum. So this is the beauty of this work. I mean, 3 years ago when we started this work, the overall atmosphere, environment was that of a gloom. I mean, let me put it in Bengali that Kemne Byabsha Hoibo. And after 3 years, as we are making this progress, this is the overall atmosphere or environment is much more positive. So from Kemne Byabsha Hoibo, it is now Byabsha Hoibo na Ken. So with that, let me request Suvimal Babu for his concluding remarks.
Thank you, Vipulda. I think as we heard from everyone, I think we got points from almost everyone up here, and points around, how do we improve on all the counts, starting from infrastructure to the actual facilitation, and then the issues that come up when you actually improve trade. I think we need a little bit more engagement also with the state governments in the Northeast. Vipulda, many people, and particularly you, also interact, but I think around Act-East policy, as has been mentioned, some of the state governments have put up some officers specifically looking around what could be done, from an export point of view, from even an import point of view. So that those particular cells also, if we are able to touch and see how we are able to possibly help them, as well as take their wisdom also with us, we move, I think, in the future in a far much more structured, positive, and something that we can measure very specifically, that these are something that we have done to improve on the success. It's very important that in the current scenario, as you had also mentioned, and I remember Professor Roy mentioning about the current scenario where, you know, the neighbors have to think of improving their trade. Much has improved on the person to person, on the political front, on the cultural front. There are regular interactions that happen today between Sylhet and Bhairab almost on a, you can say, monthly basis. Of course, COVID has stopped a few things. So now the next step logically is to see how much more we can do the formal part of the trade. A lot of informal trade used to happen, as we used to hear. So this is, I think, the focus that we really need to look at. The people in Sylhet are very, very enterprising and industrious. I have had an opportunity to move around also in their country. I have met some of the very, very entrepreneurial Sylhetis in different parts of the world. I'm sure, you know, along with the local people, there could be also other people who could actually even invest in this business where, you know, they are able, or in some business that allows this border trade to come around a point where there is a certain balance, as has been mentioned. For everyone, this is a win-win situation. I have worked very closely around, you know, the economic potential for Bhairab post-COVID. Now I see that it automatically fits in place to what they can do with Myanmar or with Bangladesh, and more closely with Bangladesh. You know, from Karimganj, it's the other side of the river. It takes just 3 minutes in a speedboat to cross from one side to the other. From Silchar, it is just about 50 kilometer plus. So all the three district capitals of Bhairab have just about a 30, 40, 50 kilometer or 2 kilometer story to the border. So we have to build on that. Likewise for Tripura, Northern Tripura, the cultural linkages are good. We all utilize it in a very structured way to take it forward. Because I think there was Mr. Khosla's point. Mr. Khosla, as the Chief Secretary and Additional Chief Secretary in Assam, has really done phenomenal, you know, motivational work for many bureaucrats to look at the potential of this, you know, border trade. So I think these are something as, you know, you accumulate all of them and we'll come up together, and then we'll monitor it and move forward. And thank you for giving me the opportunity. Since our friends from Bangladesh have been here, and I have seen our brothers from Sylhet speaking in Bangla, and then you also tried to speak in Bangla, but maybe, you know, a little bit of the Sylheti flavor also I should add. That, you know, every time আমরা যখন সিলেট যাই, আমরা যেরকম আদর আপ্যায়ন পাই, সিমিলারলি ব্যবসা করলেও ওই রকম একটা সম্পর্ক আগে আমরা রইতে পারি, এবং ব্যবসারেও ওই রকম সম্পর্কের মধ্যে নিয়ে যাইতে লাগে। এই বছর সরস্বতী পূজার দিন আমি সিলেটে আসলাম এবং আমি দেখছি যে কিভাবে সরস্বতী পূজা সিলেটে হয়, এবং এই ট্রোসার এই অক্সফ্যাম এবং তারা যে টিম আছে আমরা লগে, তারা আমরা প্রচুর ভাবে সম্মান করছে। তো এই that whole concept of love and respect for each other, that's, I think, something that we can actually give a lot of confidence to the business opportunities generation and increasing of that. So Bipulda, I think I would like to end here by thanking you, Veena-ji, and the whole team, and we look forward to, you know, being.
Thank you, Sumimalda. Thank you for. Just like to highlight a couple of points from your remarks. One is that we are engaging with state governments, but we have to do more, particularly with government of Assam and government of Tripura, in this case, for taking forward this agenda. And the memorandum that we talked about today, other than submitting it to central government, I think we should also submit to state governments, particularly CM office in Tripura and in Assam. So that's one point. Secondly, it's not just about trade in goods, there is huge scope for trade in services. Services like tourism, like education, medical tourism, that scope is very much there. So we are going forward, we are going to explore that as well. Before I conclude or end the meeting, I see that Avinash Singh from Oxfam, he is also a manager in the TROSA program. I don't know whether he has joined just now or he is already there. I just see his name. So I would request Avinash for your concluding remarks very briefly, maybe in 2-3 minutes. Avinash, can you hear me? Yeah. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Vipulda. Just a minute. I was just actually hearing each one of you, and I'm just moving to a conference room so that I can talk to you peacefully. It is.
Yes, Avinash.
Just a minute. So, yeah, thank you for organizing such a nice webinar. And I have heard, I've joined just 15 minutes after beginning this webinar. So it's really nice to see different voices and different experiences and various demands that that has been made during this workshop. And it is very fantastic to see the energy and kind of engagement that you brought and a different stakeholder has put in. So I'm looking forward the concrete one, nice report. I have made some notes, and there was very nice points that like Mr. Devnath had raised about the raising water level, or Mr. Arun Rai has shared the examples of Rajdhani Express. So this is like a small steps in the beginning, but there are miles to go. So I'm just, I can say that all the best to all of you, and keep this energy on. And there are a lot of positive changes are waiting in this journey, and we together we can achieve all this. And TROSA is always believe that people's participation and multi-stakeholder dialogue is a very crucial thing, and we will keep doing that. And I'm saying I just take this opportunity to say thanks to Kurtz International, India Bangladesh Chamber of Commerce, Sylhet Chamber of Commerce, and other stakeholders. Thanks a lot, and thank you.
Thank you, Avinash ji. So with this, we have come to an end of today's program, but we are going to take forward this agenda, and I'm sure that in near future, we're going to meet again, if not virtually, then physically. So with that positive note, let me thank you, all of you, once again. Our colleagues from Oxfam and the TROSA program in particular, my own colleagues, our colleagues from Bangladesh, Mr. Bhattacharjee, Samimalda from Barak Valley / Delhi / rest of the world, and all of you for your very active participation. And we got very good inputs, which will help us in taking forward this agenda. Before I close, let me thank my colleagues, in particular Veena Vidyadharan and Sumanto Bishwas, and also Mr. Dipala De, who is part of our extended family. He is again based in Barak Valley. He is very closely associated with Yukto Foundation, of which Sumimalda is the founder. So let me thank all of you for your participation, and also I thank our long-term partner in Bangladesh, not just Oxfam Bangladesh, but also Unnan Samanay Bangladesh for all the support which you've been receiving over the years. So see you again and see you soon. Bye bye. Namaskar.
Bye.